no-nonsense way keeps us all in line. And my friends and I talk about the real stuff of living it, and we hold nothing back. I'm Ginger Stocky with Jay Williams, and our lovely friend Erin Cluley cannot be with us today.
I miss her.
I know. We miss Erin so much.
Yes.
I know. We are thrilled, however, to have another friend with us. This is Stacy Lindsay, and I'm going to introduce you to Stacy in the correct fashion that she deserves in just a minute. But what we do here is we talk about life, we talk about the Word of God. When we need a little extra help, we call up Joyce, and she is always there to help us. So consider yourself one of the girls now. Yes. And let's talk it out.
Let's talk it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're talking about pressure today. Whew. Pressure. Yeah. I feel like we need a soundtrack. You're so good at our little music selection.
Yeah.
So bum 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 ba bum bum.
Under pressure.
Yeah, there we go. Little David Bowie. All right.
There you go. There you go. I knew exactly. I was like, is that Vanilla Ice?
I know.
Under pressure.
It's actually quite a miracle that you got whatever the song was from my cue.
Hey, I think
that was good.
Yeah, thank you.
The pressure that was on me for that just then was overwhelming.
But here's the thing, though, and this is something that I've said to Ginger all the time. Yes. Ginger slides in little singing things. Like if I'm singing something, if there's music playing, she's always on pitch with harmonies. She can actually sing.
Go.
I think she's hiding a talent, to be honest.
Closet shower singer. Maybe I think that's about all I've got.
There you go.
I think that's all I've got. It's best for those things to stay put in the background and hiding. I want to introduce you to my friend Stacy because there is so much to say about Stacy, and I'll give you the official line. But first, let me tell you that when we met the first time, there was just this instant connection.
Yes.
Where it's like, this is a new friend that I will love forever.
Yeah.
And it's just been one of those things that God gave us a connection, and I'm so grateful, so grateful. And I'm so glad to have you here with us. So I'm going to read this so that I get it right because it's so awesome. It's so awesome. So Stacy is the founder of They Serve Too, who we are thrilled to work with. It's such a great organization.
It's a blessing for us.
That is, Hand of Hope is connected to you, but They Serve Too is dedicated to helping military families in so many different ways.
Yes.
And it's been a wonderful blessing to many, many families in our military who, of course, deserve it so much. She has been awarded the Army's Outstanding Civilian Service Medal and the Navy Meritorious Public Service Award. Hello. Those are pretty awesome.
I thought about wearing those today.
That would have been so cool. So cool. She is a businesswoman. She is a leader. She is a world changer. And she is also a mother. And she is the wife of, I'm going to get this right, Vice Admiral Yancey B. Lindsay, a 3-star admiral in the Navy.
Yes.
And so Pressure should be your middle name.
It's a bit of pressure.
There's a little bit going on in your life.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm so grateful for who you are and for what you bring to this. But when we were talking about pressure in our life that we all face, every one of us,
absolutely.
No matter what we have going on,
Sure.
the world has pressure. Our family has pressure. Our lives are just full of pressure. And I thought, Stacy can talk about this because she gets it.
Yes.
So let me just start by asking you, what are some of the pressures that come along with being a part of a military family, and especially one that is at the rank that your family is dealing with?
Well, I think that, leadership or any place of authority that God may put us in, that it just comes with pressure, right? And sometimes scrutiny.
Yeah.
Being a military family, there's constant change. So our military families deal with a lot in their service to our country, whether it be, just changing a location that they live, or trying to find jobs, or, trying to get the kids in school or not in school, as the case may be right now.
Yeah.
I think that as you juggle things in life, regardless of where God has placed you, we all have those pressures that can weigh us down.
They sure can. And when you mentioned scrutiny, I mean, let's just talk about that a little bit, because when you are at the level of a 3-star general, it's not just scrutiny on the general, it affects or an admiral. Excuse me, I know better because my daughter's in the Navy, and she would be so ashamed, so ashamed.
Like,
Oh my goodness! I'll be getting. Oh, my phone's already ringing. But it's not just scrutiny for him. It's pressure that affects the entire family. It has to.
It does. It does. And it's hard because I think, okay, well, yes, he has this position, and yes, it's the calling that God has placed on our lives.
Yeah.
But I try to understand that, life is just pressures, and that I can't take that position or the place that we're in right now too seriously, right? Because it's really easy in roles that we have in life that we just take that on too much.
Yeah.
And so I find that I have to check myself and go, this is because of this role.
Yeah.
This is because of this current experience.
So don't take things too personally.
Don't take it too personally. Don't get caught up in it.
Yeah.
Right?
And sometimes don't take yourself so seriously.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We got to learn to sort of laugh at our circumstances, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like a pressure cooker. So you've got a few options when you're under intense pressure or scrutiny. Am I going to explode, or am I going to, let off that steam a little bit?
Yeah.
Laughter's a great way to do that.
You guys are both leaders. Your husband, of course, is a leader. What we do as leaders is quite often scrutinized and misunderstood, and there's a lot of pressure in that. And I know a lot of our friends who are listening have experienced that as well. And there's always that desire to want to be liked, to to want to be loved, to want to be understood. And so I know that you guys have had some of those hard things where you're not being received the way that is fair. That's one of those words that we're not, especially when our girls were young, we were not allowed to use the F word at our house. We were not allowed to say, that's not fair.
Right.
Yeah.
That was our F word.
Yeah.
And it's hard when you feel that way, when whatever is happening, and it may be very public, it's just not fair. That's not what really happened. And so those are the times that there's nothing we can do about it. We just have to give it to God and ask him to help us through it.
I find that it's, we're just girls that want everybody to love us, right? Yeah. We want to be liked. I want everyone to think I'm fabulous, even on my bad days. And, I have to remember when I'm under scrutiny or pressure or misunderstood. That's a really hard one for me. I'm like, please, that's not my heart.
Yeah.
Don't misunderstand me.
Yeah.
But it happens. And it happens wherever you are in life. And I have to remind myself that I don't play to any other audience, that I have an audience of one.
Yeah.
And that's something that's so important to me,
Yeah.
It's just our human nature to get caught up in fairness or what's being thought about us or said about us or how we're being perceived. And I can't spend time and energy on it. I don't know about y'all, but I don't have any extra energy for that.
I have been guilty of being pressured because there are so many pressures in society for leadership, period. But then being a woman in leadership, there'd be a Black woman in leadership like that in itself. There's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And so I have had to really modify the way that I communicate things because I do, I've heard people say, like, if you want people to understand what you mean, don't say it mean,
Yeah.
and you know what I mean? That's a pressure, especially like I get titled as an angry Black woman all the time. So I'm like, I have to make sure that I'm saying things that my actions line up with my intentions. And so there are times that I have to be very intentional with how I communicate things, especially in the positions of leadership that I've been in.
Right.
Because there are pressures out here that of course I have to rely on the Lord and trust that the Lord will, help convey what my heart is really trying to
Sure.
say. But I have a question for
Yes.
you. Being in the military, I don't know much about military families, but just from the outside looking in, I would just assume that you'd have to be pretty like flexible and adaptable to change. For me, I like knowing where I'm going to be the next year even. Like I like that. But like,
Exactly.
how was that for you? And have you always been someone that's been pretty flexible?
I wouldn't say I've been someone that's always been pretty flexible. I like order. I like to have things like planned out and sort of dialed in. I am spontaneous, so that has helped me in our military life. I sort of have used a term for years called Semper Gumby. So kind of always flexible, right?
Okay.
Because, and that's military, it's kind of a Semper Fi. And
Semper Gumby.
Or a little Gumby.
I think it's cute.
I just want to get a little Gumby and put him in like a Marine uniform, But we have to be flexible. So early on in our journey, when I got frustrated, I've told family and tried to explain to them, someone that doesn't have this life, that I can't even buy theater tickets, I mean, we like theater. But I can't plan that way. And so I had to really surrender a big part of me wanting to have everything figured out. And, because of my faith, it was really easy to go, when it's out of my hands, I know whose hands it's in.
Wow, that's good.
And we face so much of that in our lives, regardless of where we're at. It's just so much is out of our hands. So much is out of our hands right now. And I have to know that even though kind of the control freak in me would like to make all the decisions and know how it was all going to work out, I have to release that and know that I don't need to be in charge.
Yeah. That's so good.
That couldn't have been an easy lesson along the way, though.
No, and it's a daily lesson sometimes still,
Yeah.
We have to remind ourselves.
It's a good lesson to have, especially like what you're saying, like right now in the circumstances of the world, the situation of the world today, the condition of the world today, is to understand that pressure can be relieved and released if we understand who actually holds the present and the future. If we know who controls it all. And so that's just a good lesson to have.
And I think it's so important to recognize when we're surrendering that, whose hands we're surrendering to. I mean, we need to understand the Father heart of God. So that was work I did as a young woman. And it changed things for me in being able to, lay that at his feet or put it in his hands, when you know that just like, the Father wants to take care of his children, that I'm his baby girl.
Yeah.
And if you can relate it in that way, it changes everything. That's such a major shift. It always has been for me.
Yeah, and that is true for everyone. No matter who you are, no matter what pressures it is that you're dealing with in your work, in your family, in your church life, whatever it is, what you're saying is true. Is He is our Father. He is our Daddy that wants to bear that burden for us. So let's jump right in here and see what Joyce has to say, first of all, and then we'll talk about the word that she shares about pressure and stress in our life.
Stress is caused by what's going on inside of us rather than what's going on around us. Well, if I didn't have this problem, and if I didn't have that problem, and if I didn't have that problem, can I tell you something as lovingly as I know how to? Some of you, if you didn't have one problem, you would create one. I mean, just saying, Now, there's some things that we have, and we need to face the fact that we have them and stop praying for things that we already have. So in John 14:27, Jesus said, "Peace I leave with you." He left it. It's here. "My own peace I now give and bequeath unto you." Jesus said this to his disciples pretty much as one of the last things that he said to them, and he was leaving them what he felt was some of the best things that he had to give them. He said, "I bequeath to you, or I will you, I leave you my peace. Not as the world gives do I give to you. Don't let your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid. Stop allowing yourselves to be agitated and disturbed, and do not permit yourselves to be fearful and intimidated and cowardly and unsettled. Now, I love this because Jesus is saying, here's my part and here's your part. I'm going to leave you my peace. When you're born again, the Prince of Peace comes to live on the inside of you. Everybody say, I have peace. But now he says, because you have that peace, when these stress factors come against you from the outside, you don't let yourself get upset. Well, I just can't help it. You know, that's a phraseology we need to get out of our language. Stop saying, I can't help it. Don't ever say again, I can't help it. Just say, with God on my side, I can do whatever he asks me to do. Because as long as we think we can't help it, we're going to stay in this weak-minded situation and just let everything in the world run roughshod all over us. I've learned to do something that I want to share with you. I have learned when I'm feeling myself starting to get upset. And how many of you know you can feel it coming? Dave loves to fix my hair. Now, he doesn't like to do my hair, but he likes to, and he's fixing this. Then he's over here, and especially before I do the conferences, and he's just being loving. He just wants me to look good up here. And he said, you don't realize when you turn sideways, if you got something sticking out here, it doesn't look good. So this morning we had a particularly bad hair day. And he has repaired my hair at least 4 times. Well, first of all, I don't like anybody with their hands in my hair, except the girl who does my hair. And I probably especially don't like Dave in my hair. I don't know why. I guess just because he does it so much, you know? And so by about the 4th time this morning, then I put this thing on back here, and then he told my hair was all sticking out above that. So then we had to fix that. And then he could tell by my face that I was about to get an attitude. He said, okay, I'm not gonna fix it then. We can just let it, let's say these are the things Dave and I fight about. So I can feel myself starting to get upset. Well, you see, the way I was years ago, I just went with feelings. However I felt, that's what I went with. But now, when I start to feel that, I remember John 14:7, don't allow yourself to get upset and disturbed, and I start talking myself off the ledge.
You know, you can't talk about pressure without talking about the antidote, which is peace that God gives us. Stacey, I love what you said earlier, and I kind of brushed over it and didn't mean to, about that laughter is a great answer for this.
Absolutely.
It does release a lot of that steam that we need to release. So rather than Joyce being upset all the time about Dave and her hair, we might as well all laugh about it, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you guys see as antidotes to the pressure in your own lives? What are some of the things that you do to walk in that peace that Christ gives us?
Yeah, one of the main things is declaring the word over me, because I've realized that because a lot of things have stayed in my, like I used to allow things to stay in my head a lot, you know, and then that's when anxiety kicks in. You could feel it. And then even if I thought it was good and I would pray at night, and then in the morning, I would sleep well, but then in the morning I could just feel that pressure. Sometimes I would physically feel it on me, like and I would just feel like I have 2 choices, either succumb to that feeling or speak the word over it. You know, and speak the truth over it. So I
those
believe,
are the choices.
Yeah. So my choice is to actually declare, you know, what God says about the situation, and declare that the peace of God, let the peace of God rule my heart, you know, and that He'll give me the peace that surpasses all understanding. So just start declaring those things, because it's easy to forget those things when you're feeling the pressure, because it's like, oh, I'm overwhelmed, I don't know what to do. But you have to choose to speak those things. And so even to the point where I've even put, and we've talked about it before on the show, where I've put Post-it notes, like even on my on the bathroom mirror, like just to remind
Wherever you need 'em,
wherever,
yeah.
like on the mirror, on the refrigerator, wherever I'm feeling pressure or wherever I know, because here's the thing that I had to realize, that Satan, he doesn't have any new tricks. Like it's the same stuff. Like he's using the same stuff, and we have that advantage to know that he's been playing these same games for thousands and thousands of years. And so we can use the word of God as our cheat sheet to say, oh, I already know that you can be overcome if I do this. And so now knowing that, I can like plan and strategize to say like, hey, I don't have to succumb to this pressure. I can speak the word. I can speak the truth over myself. So that's how I do it. I mean, of course, laughter too, but speaking it and declaring it, like declaring the truth helps me.
That's great.
So good.
Yeah.
I love too that you put things up. I will do that from time to time. I remember going through a challenging point in my life, and just inspirational scriptures and things that were really speaking to what I needed right then. I actually, like kitchen cabinet, bathroom mirror, I at one point had something taped to the outside of my shower. I wanted to just be able to visually always see where my focus needed to be.
Yeah.
And, you know, it may sound silly, but I remember when our girls were young, I did a thing, you know, kids will throw tantrums, right? So I did a thing that I would call the art of distraction. And I would just try to find a way to draw their attention from something else. And, you know, as silly as it may sound, we need to sometimes draw our attention from that which is stealing our peace, right? And for me, worship music is one of my go-tos. I just need to turn on something that instantly lowers my blood pressure. You know, I'm a type A girl. I can spin up pretty easily, unfortunately. And so I have to find that place that draws me back, that is my distraction, and then just sets my mind where it needs to be set.
That's so good.
Yeah.
You talk about being type A, and this isn't an answer for everyone. It kind of depends on where your personality lies. But one thing that God really taught me was to say the words, it doesn't matter. I can be so focused on all of the details that I think are so important, and all of the things that I want to be just right, and that I want to help everybody else make just right in their own life, you know? And those words, it doesn't matter, were such a relief for me, because there were two things. First of all, it was that everything is not in my control anyway.
Yeah.
And
Amen.
the second part of that is everything is in God's control. So I can safely say it doesn't matter, because I'm laying it in the hands of someone who has a much better handle on it than I ever will anyway. And so there were many of those things that you begin to feel this pressure, and you have to ask yourself, because some things do matter and some things don't as much. How important is this? Does this matter as much as it feels to me like it does right now? Or is it something that I can completely let go of? Or is it something that I do need to pray and be active and work through? Is it something that I can lay in God's hands and know that He's telling me I don't need to do anything right now? So wherever it was in that whole situation, my question was, how much does this matter? And oftentimes the answer was no, it doesn't. And the pressure would just be like, oh, good, okay. I can move on to the next thing that probably matters a lot. But that was huge for me. That was really, really helpful.
Yeah.
And I think about the different things that probably a lot of our friends who are listening right now are dealing with in their lives, right? There are so many really serious things that people are dealing with. They're dealing with physical illnesses and financial trouble and maybe a special needs child or the loss of a loved one or a relationship. Very serious things that are very hard to deal with. There is a lot of pressure in our life. So there's no way to skirt over that. Life is hard. But in knowing that God does walk with us through everything, and to ask ourselves those questions: how much pressure am I putting on myself? Because I know I'm really good at that. Adding to it when instead of, I know God wants to release a little bit of it, and I just keep pulling it back.
Sure.
Because it feels like if I don't do this, it's going to go wrong. And sometimes I need to let go, and then it goes much better.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit, Stacy. You've had so many personal issues in your family in this past year. It's been a rough one for you.
It's been hard. In the last 2 years, I've lost my mom. My sister is in a current battle with breast cancer. I've done 2 overseas moves in 13 months and just a lot of other life and difficulty in the midst of all of it. And sometimes you're having a struggle just to keep your head above water. But it's where you choose to dwell, right? And I'm not saying that there hasn't been a lot of tears and a lot of really hard days and a lot of really being torn. I mean, that part of our military life is I don't always get to be where I want to be. That's really hard, when you want to be there for family or to take care of people. A lot of people can't be where they want to be right now because of what we're dealing with. And so there's a daily surrender there of pain, of disappointment. But, I still have someone to help me through it. And in those days that I'm struggling the most or feeling like I'm not doing enough, all you can really do is just surrender it in prayer. I mean, there's so much in our lives that we can't control. And I also have to remember that even with all that might be the burdens that I'm dealing with, there's still so many people that are dealing with even more.
Right. Yeah.
And so that helps put things in perspective.
Yeah.
It doesn't change our circumstances, but we have to realize that there's a lot of people hurting. And maybe I'll grow enough through what we're going through that I'll come out on the other side and have something that makes a difference for somebody else. We're supposed to grow, even when it's hard. So,
yeah. I'm a practical person. What does that surrender look like for you?
I'm like I said, a type A kind of girl. So sometimes that surrender is me throwing a little bit of fit first.
Yeah.
That makes me feel better.
Me too.
Never one done.
I mean,
I'm on the road to surrender.
I got that out of my system. So sometimes it's just going, God, this isn't fair. And I'm not happy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not liking this. This isn't, but fair is relative, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that we have to remember to get to that surrender that it gets back to it's all in His hands. And those days where I'm frustrated or hurt or angry or stressed and just feeling the weight and the pressure of it all, I have to go, you know what, Lord, it's not me, it's you. I don't have to carry this burden.
Yeah.
And I am your daughter. That daddy's girl thing is a big deal. And that's something that I find that I always want to encourage people to really grasp is who they are in Christ and what that father heart is like. And if we can relate that in that loving, always be there.
Yeah.
You know, I read something recently when someone said, if your child woke up from a nightmare in the middle of the night and they started hollering and you were running from your room to theirs, the whole time you were running to the room, you'd be like, baby, I'm on my way. I've got it. I'm almost there.
Yeah.
You know, that's what God does for us.
Yeah.
You know, that's my father. He's always running to me.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter if I've fallen down and skinned my knee or if I'm in the worst nightmare of my life. He's running for me.
Yeah. That's
So
a beautiful way to look at it.
Yeah.
That's really good. You know, I remember those nightmares for my kids in the middle of the night, and you just hear a scream. And as a parent, your heart, you are instantly awake, and your heart is just like this, and you are doing everything you can to get to that door to make sure everything's okay and do what you can.
Yes.
So I love that example of that's how God responds to us when we cry out to him. He has that same response to get to us.
And if we feel that way as human parents,
yeah, so much more.
so much more.
Yeah.
That makes it, you know, if you do that surrender over and over again and you place yourself in that mindset, it's really easily automatic to go, okay, wait. You know, for me to check myself and go, wait, I know better. I know how to respond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know how he's responding.
Yeah.
Well, we do have some help for everyone who's listening. We love to give our friends some free resources that will just help you as you're studying these topics and really help us understand who God is and what the Word says about what we're studying. And so everything that we're listening to and talking about from Joyce is from what we are offering you for your free offer today. So don't forget that when we say a free offer, a free resource, we absolutely mean it. So go for it. Yeah, who doesn't, right?
Yeah.
This is called mental and emotional overload.
Yeah.
Who hasn't been there?
Right.
Mental and emotional overload.
Yep.
So you can go to joycemeyer.org/talk it out and download it for free. And like I said, that's what we're listening to little clips of that today. So let's take one more listen and see what Joyce has to say.
Now, another thing that you have is Jesus. Amen. And in Matthew 11:28, he says, come to me, come to me, come to me, come here, come and let me talk to you. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden and overburdened, and I will cause you to rest. I will ease and relieve and refresh your souls. Don't you love that? I feel better just reading it. Matthew 11:29, take my yoke upon you and learn of me. First of all, he says, come to me and I'll take care of this problem. Well, we love that part. Yes. Make this all go away. I mean, people were so enthusiastic on Thursday night when I said what I was going to teach on. I mean, this place just erupted in joy. But you know what? They got a little quieter as the evening went on, and they found out that I didn't have a magic charm to make all the stress go away, that what was going to happen was they were going to come to Jesus and he was going to teach them something about why they were stressed out, and then he was going to help them make a change in their life. Are you with me today? Yes. That would then prevent the devil from getting back in. The Holy Spirit has been given to us to be our constant companion in life. Jesus told his disciples, I'm going to go away, but you're actually going to be better off because I'm going to send you the Comforter. And the reason why Jesus said that is because he could only be in one place at one time, but the Holy Spirit can work in and with every single one of us every day of our lives, no matter where we're at or what we're doing. He can be with every one of us intimately and personally. And he is the teacher. He teaches us how to live life differently so we can have the life that Jesus died for us to have.
Honestly, I have those childish moments where it's just like, God, I just want you to get me out of this. I don't have any time to be learning any lessons. I don't want to do any growing. I don't want to help anybody else. You know, how terrible is that? But that's what pressure does to you sometimes. But when you think about it, a real father, doesn't do what you need in the moment. He does what you need that's best for you overall. And that's what God does for us too. But
Absolutely.
it's not easy when it happens.
That pruning, right?
Oh, ouch. Yeah.
You
What
know?
are some of the things that you both do to relieve the pressure when you need, whether it's a break or to reset? What are some of your secrets?
Recently, I do like the kid did when you said they had a nightmare. I'd scream. I'm just like, you know, like,
Does it work?
It does.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't do it often, but I mean, this year I've had to relieve some pressure. And honestly, a funny story, I did something the other day, or last night actually, that caused me to have a migraine today. To relieve some pressure, I went to a kickboxing class. But, but I mean, I'm just trying, exercise does
You needed
help.
to pound on some
I needed
things
to,
and get some exercise.
Yes, I needed to, like, I'm using this season to really try to work on me physically. And so now that I've realized that there's nothing I can do about some of these situations,
Right.
but pause and learn from them, that I have to shift my attention and redirect that energy and redirect that focus on something that I can control. And that is watching what I eat, watching how much I, doing more activities, and so that's something that I do, and realizing that I can't allow the pressures of life, especially those things that we can't control. You can't control if you lose a loved one. You can't control if you get divorce papers served to you. You can't control those things. So instead of letting that pressure paralyze me, I'm learning how to take action. Like Joyce said, come to the Lord and learn from the Lord. But there are also times that you have to just take action in your physical life too, and just do something. So I've been moving more. But it caused me. I didn't drink enough water when I did the kickboxing, so it gave me a headache.
But you're learning and growing.
I'm learning and growing, and next time I'll be full of electrolytes. A migraine the day after.
There you go.
No, me too. That's really important for me is the physical activity of releasing some of that pressure, and whether it's hiking or just getting a great walk in, because that's also wonderful time with God in prayer.
Absolutely.
And so you kind of get double duty that way.
Yeah.
I get that time in where physically I'm exerting some of that energy that I need to get rid of. It's good for me physically, and I'm just listening to the Father. I'm not talking the whole time. That is huge when it comes to the pressures in our life. Sometimes we try to deal with it by talking, whether it's to our friends, to even to God. We talk so much in prayer, which is a good thing. Please pray.
Yeah.
But sometimes we have to be quiet enough to listen so that he can talk to us. So that walking time is really great for me for that.
I think that's so important. I think that self-care and just finding those moments of those few things that will recenter you, right? For me, nature, totally. Even if I'm just going outside and, sitting in a chair outside in the sunshine for a few minutes. My dog helps me just take a couple deep breaths. I know when I need to take a break. I think we need practical ways, and we need to think about, okay, what is going to give me just that mental, emotional little bit of a break? Because if you can't remove yourself from a situation and you're carrying all this pressure, you lose perspective.
True.
Yeah.
And for me, especially just going outside and taking a deep breath, that's really very, it's a way for me to refocus where I need to be focused.
Another thing that I like to do is I light a candle. And I also...
A little aromatherapy.
Yeah, a little aromatherapy with some essential oils,
There you go.
But I also, because I'm a worship leader, so I sing all the time, and I listen to cadences, I listen to lyrics, and sometimes I can get in my head and cause pressure with that. So a lot, for me, sometimes it's lighting a candle and turning on some ambient music that doesn't have any lyrics, that's sometimes for me, because I'm pretty much allergic to outside and to dogs. So both of your things, could perhaps really hurt me.
Added
My
pressure.
dog's hyperallergenic. I'm just saying.
But I do enjoy just like lighting a candle and sometimes just turning on some instrumental music. I hear God a lot, really clearly when I do things like that, when it's not just, it's because sometimes I need to turn even the worship music off because that's someone else's writing to God. And sometimes I need to just talk to him myself and hear from him, from what he's saying to me in that moment too.
Great suggestions.
Yeah.
Really good. Well, Joyce has one more really good example for us in this next clip about someone in the Bible who kept his hope, which is really a key to defeating pressure, right? To have peace, we have to have hope, even in times of pressure. So let's see what she has to say.
We are hedged in and pressed on every side, troubled and oppressed in every way, but not cramped or crushed. We suffer embarrassments and we're perplexed and unable to find a way out, but we are not driven to despair. So Paul had serious stressors in his life, and yet he said, we're still full of hope. When they were in jail at midnight, they were still singing. And it was such a witness to the jailer that he ended up getting saved. Do you know, when you maintain peace and joy in the midst of really difficult situations in your life, it is a witness to other people. I think it's one of the greatest witnesses that we have to other people, if we can remain stable in difficult times. The Message Bible of 1 Corinthians 10:13 says, no test or temptation that comes your way is beyond the course of what others have had to face. And all you need to remember is that God will never let you down. He'll never let you be pushed past your limit. He'll always be there to help you come through it. Everybody say, something good's going to happen to me.
So many great scriptures and holding on to those promises. You know, don't just overlook, don't glaze over something. The fact that God gives you peace in the midst of your pressure is huge. And we can say, you know, yeah, I've heard that all my life.
Sure.
It's totally different when you experience it. Psalm 118:5 says, out of my distress, I called on the Lord. It's that little child screaming out at night. The Lord answered me and set me free. So it's not even just, I felt a little bit better. He set me free.
Yeah.
And that's where we can be. And I love this so much. This is letting pressure make you better instead of worse. And this is a verse, James 1:3-6, and I love the way that this one is written. It says, you know that under pressure, your faith life is forced into the open, and it shows its true colors. Pressure does that to us, right? So don't try to get out of anything prematurely. Let it do its work so you become mature and well-developed, not deficient in any way. Let it do its work. That's hard stuff. If you don't know what you're doing, pray to the Father. He loves to help. You'll get his help and won't be condescended to when you ask for it. Ask boldly, believingly, without a second thought. People who worry their prayers are like wind-whipped waves. We've all worried our prayers, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I love this. It's the hard stuff. It's the hard stuff of walking through it and letting God perfect us, right? Shape that diamond with the pressure that's in our life. But this is the good stuff. This is the stuff that down the road we're like, wow, I'm so glad I'm here and not there.
Yeah, it's so good. And I just thought about also in Isaiah 54, how it just talks about no weapon formed against me will prosper.
Yeah.
And so there, that scripture in itself just tells me too, like, there will be weapons formed against me.
Yes.
It's going to happen.
Pressure's going to come.
Yeah.
Pressure's going to come, but the hope in the fact that it will not prosper, like, that gives me hope to know that no matter what comes against me, no matter, you know, how I feel in the moment when that pressure is applied, I know that God is working something through me and teaching me something, but I know that it won't prosper. It cannot win. Like that's a
Absolutely.
hope that I have.
Yeah.
Well, and just to even not have that, sometimes we need to have that on repeat, right, in our lives, just over and over and over again. Because the pressure is intense. But we have a world that needs to see us firmly footed and withstanding the storm.
I think there's so many great little tidbits in what we've been talking about today, to make sure that you are focusing as much as you possibly can on you and God, that relationship right there. People matter so much, but they can also put pressure on you. You can put pressure on yourself.
Yes.
And you've got to be able to peel all that away and say, it's me and God. What do we need to do? What does he say about who I am? What does he want me to glean from this? How can I come out of it better? And so I think there's been some great advice. And again, we invite you to pick up that free resource. Everything you were hearing from Joyce today is in there. It's a free audio teaching, and I think that you will love it, called Mental and Emotional Overload. Go to joycemeyer.org/talk it out to get that for free. Also, while you're there, you can sign up for our free email friends list. We would love to have you join us as one of our friends, and you'll get some of those special added bonuses, behind the scenes fun stuff, and you'll find out when new episodes are coming out. And please subscribe to the podcast. Tell your friends about it. Let's have as many people joining us as possible, because it's just more fun to talk with your friends.
Yes,
It is.
Stacey, thank you.